Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We're very glad you're with us this morning. It's October 8th, 2021. Our agenda this morning, we will start out with success stories. I do know of one landing, and maybe we've got somebody else on the line who's also landed who can share their story. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. Then we will hear from our committee reports, workshop, job fairs, the practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and then the career tip of the week. And then we will have our main event, which today is all about accountability groups. For everybody, I'm just looking, it looks like everybody's got their full name in there, so I'll skip these couple slides. If you will, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please open up the Zoom chat window. Enter your questions in there. For those watching on Facebook, please just enter your questions into the comment field. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group has been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the gentleman who was leading the group at the time got a job and said he wanted to take over. I think I scratched my face. He said, "Okay, Jeff, you're it." So I've been doing this since 2007. In 2008, I thought, you know, there's got to be a better way to help people who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help people outside the DFW area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple moments. Well, we like to start the meeting off with success stories with good news. I do know of one landing. Charles Eckhoff sent me an email at the beginning of this week, said he's landed as a W-2 contract position at Texas Instruments, the Kilby lab. Kilby is he's the gentleman who invented the integrated circuit as an electrical engineer. He started late last week and due to paperwork, background checks, and drug tests. He wanted to thank the group for their insights and inspiration. I know Charles has been part of this group several times over the years as he's been employed, unemployed, employed, unemployed. So just thanks, congratulations to Charles. Charles makes our 88th landing of the year out of this group. Do we have any other landings? If anybody else has landed, please unmute your mic and share your story. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Nope. All right. All right. What we want everybody to do now, if you will, and some people have already started to do that, and I really appreciate that. If you will open up the Zoom chat box or on the Facebook comment field, and please enter your name, comma, phone, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. And what I will do is I will get all this information out to everybody who's part of this, who's part of the group this afternoon. And maybe, and hopefully the reason for doing this is that, you know, we used to stand up and do this when we were meeting in person, but we don't have the time to do that online right now. So if you can this afternoon, when you get this list, look over the list and see who do you know, who's trying to find a job at a company that you may have a contact at. How can you help somebody? And it would really be appreciated. So if you will, put that information in there. For those people on Facebook right now, if you put your comment, your information into the Facebook page on Facebook, I will delete that information right after the session's over. Let's put 30 seconds on the clock. One more reason that you probably want to put your contact information into the Zoom, into the chat window, is because today's presentation, if you'd like to get handouts, the slide deck, if I don't have your contact information, if I can't reach out to you, I'm not going to be able to send it to you. So just another, if you'd like to be able to get that after the presentation's over, it would be appreciated. All right, it's time to hear about job, career fairs, training, and workshops. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy Friday to everybody. As Jeff said, my name is Eldon Zarinsky, and I'm going to present to you information on career and job fairs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The information that I'm providing comes from the calendar tab on the website careerdfw.org. There are many colors on that calendar, each representing a particular subject matter in terms of how the calendar is divided up. Again, I focus on career and job fairs and special workshops or events. I do go through these fairly quickly, so if you hear something that catches your ear and would like to participate or find out more, I would urge you to go to the calendar page, click on the appropriate tab, find the item, click on that, and you'll find what you're looking for. All right, having said that, this week's career and job fairs. Not so much of a career and job fair, but the United Electronic Recycling event will be held at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church at 5801 West Plano Parkway in Texas on Saturday, October 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. JCPenney Stores is hosting a national hiring event, and this event will cover 3 days, Wednesday, October 13th, Thursday, the 14th, and Friday, the 15th, and it'll run from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are various ways to participate. They're doing phone interviews and also in-person interviews. There is a link in those announcements that you can find out more about this and decide whether you want to talk to them by phone or go in and interview in person. Finally, there'll be another United Electronic Recycling event at Christ United Methodist Church at 3101 Coit Road in Plano on Saturday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. This week's special workshops or events. Online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on LinkedIn. There is a Zoom link for this and as well as a Facebook link. There'll be an employability with a background workshop at Opening Doors for Women in Need at 3600 Horn Street in Fort Worth on Tuesday, October 12th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Also online, the Who You Know Career Transition Summit will be held on Wednesday, October 13th from 10 a.m. to noon. There's a registration link to participate in that. This event is hosted by Foster Williams, one of our local area recruiters. And if you don't know Foster, I would certainly urge you get to know Foster Williams. Also online, interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. This is Wednesday, October 13th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Join Mark McDonald, who's the leader of our pit crew, and Walt Glass, who runs our interview success workshop, for session 11 on informational interviews, how to network effectively, types of referrals, active listening, converting contacts and connection supporters, champions, and advocates. It's a very interesting session. If you haven't learned much about informational interviewing, I urge you to attend that. Again, that's Wednesday, October 13th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Also online, there's a networking webinar. Join Career DFW and CareerUSA.org on the second and fourth Thursdays of each month from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. for their networking seminar. And there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate in that. Going on right now, in fact, I'll make an announcement for those who might have missed it the other day. This is online, the third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast. It's being held Friday, October 15th. It started at 7:40 and it's probably just about ending right now. But
well, it's next week, not this week. It's next week.
October 15th. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It is next week. My apologies. Let me start over again. The third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast on Friday, October 15th from 7:40 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is hosted by Ed Hightower. And if you're interested in the Internet of Things, I urge you to participate in that. They usually have very interesting speakers. And there is a link to find out more about that on the calendar. Finally, the St. Jude Career Alliance in Allen, Texas is holding a workshop on Saturday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And that's at St. Jude Catholic Church at 1515 North Greenville Avenue in Allen. And these are being held quarterly, and the content of the new job search curriculum will be based on Jack Bick's latest career development book, The Champion Way 2.0. And that's it for this week.
Great, thank you very, very much. All right, let's see here. If you know somebody who's unemployed, please let them know about Career DFW and Career USA. Let them know about all the free resources, the great resources that are on both those websites. All right, time to hear from the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Well, good morning, Jeff, and hello, everybody. I can't believe it's already October. Wow, it's going fast. So the pit crew's very busy now. It's picked up tremendously in the last couple of weeks. So if you've been thinking about participating in a practice interview, then jump on the bandwagon and get your information to me, and I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. But first of all, I want to say some things that I usually forget to say. And number one is everything that the pit crew offers, the two-way interviews, one-way interviews, the coaching on why you left your last job is all free. So it's all done by volunteers, but doesn't mean it's not professional based. All the interviewers, we call them panelists, the volunteers for the pit crew have all been hiring managers and have also all been through job transition. So we've walked your shoes and we've hired people as part of our professional responsibility. And those are the people who are giving you the interview and providing the feedback. And I think we do a great job, and people benefit highly from practicing and practicing more than once. So you'll see on the tagline, I'm going to post some information up here on how to contact me through email or LinkedIn. Our tagline is practice early and practice often. And so you can come and practice as many times as you like. And every now and then I mention that the record is 9 times in about a year. I can almost guarantee if you practice 9 times, you're going to land. How about that? All right, so here's what you want to do if you're ready to practice. Is you want to send me the job description that you've picked out and your resume, and also the times that you are available 2 days and 3 days from when you submit your information. So that's 2 business days or 3 business days. So it takes a little bit of time to set up the practice interview because there's your schedule and the schedule of the 3 volunteers who are going to interview you. So I need to know your availability. We'll take that job description that you provide and your resume, and we'll study up in advance. And many candidates who come to practice are surprised at how well prepared we are, which is just an indication that you need to be prepared as well. So we take this very seriously, and we'll give you a very customized and personalized interview experience based on that job description. So if you're kind of considering multiple roles, you can come and practice for each one of them. You do not have to have a opportunity in hand or an interview already scheduled. You can, a lot of people will submit a job to a company that they're really interested in, a job that looks really good, and then they'll practice before they ever get that first call from a recruiter. And we think that's great. You know, every time you practice, you're going to learn some new and valuable information about how to interview effectively. So that's how the pit crew works. Send that information to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and I'll go to work right away setting up your practice interview. So we do them every day, every business day of the week. And so, and if you have a part-time job or some other reason why you're not available, we can also do them on the weekends. Just send in that request along with your information. Now, so I just talked about the 2-way interviews that the pit crew offers, and remember that's all free, so there's no cost to you. And the pit crew also offers 1-way interviews, which for the pit crew is just an opportunity to practice using a tool similar to what you'll likely encounter in your 1-way interview experience. So it's very different. A 1-way interview, when you're talking to the computer, there's nobody there, there's no feedback at all. And so it's something worthwhile to practice, and just send me an email, say you'd like to participate. I'll send you an email back with the questions that I'm going to ask you. So it's not a mystery what you're going to be asked. And then a link to the tool, which is called Easy Hire, which has been donated to Jeff and made available to the pit crew. And so the way I set it up is you get 4 questions, 4 common questions, like what are your salary requirements and tell me about yourself. that you can practice answering, and then you'll get a copy of the video directly from the tool. And there you can go from there and see how well you did. And so it's all very confidential. Nobody's ever going to see that unless you choose to share that link. Link in with me, please. It'll give you access to some more people and possibly your target companies. But do send me a brief note that said we met on North Dallas Career Focus Group. I'd like to identify where you found me. And so there's my LinkedIn profile. You can search on the Pick Crew even, and it should pop up on the first page. Or if you search for my name, include that middle initial, and that'll help you find me very quickly. Mark A. McDonald. And interview Wednesdays. Okay, Eldon just mentioned that what's coming up is informational interviews, and I like to just tell people what's coming up and up. So the second week of October is informational interviews. That's next Wednesday. The third Wednesday of October is going to be difficult interviewers and their difficult questions. They're going to focus right in on those specific topics, questions that a lot of people have challenges with, but also how to deal with, grumpy interviewers or uninformed interviewers or distracted interviewers, because there's a lot of people out there who aren't very good at interviewing, frankly. So, and then the final week of October is interview crashes. So these are common mistakes that you make as candidates that Walt and I see all the time in the practice interview team and the interview success workshop. So they're common enough to be noteworthy, and we want to make sure we review those so you avoid those in your future interviews. And all the sessions, there's 13 of them, all the sessions are available on the Career USA YouTube channel. And Jeff will tell you more about that at the end, but you can go there and see the interviewing and the resume and LinkedIn and the networking interviews or networking webinars. So, and all 13 sessions are available. So if you've got a particular topic you'd like to zero in on, you can watch it, out of order. It doesn't matter.
Mark.
And one more thing.
Okay.
Coaching. I mentioned it briefly. I do coach. I help people who may have difficulty answering the question, why did you leave your last job? Or maybe you had a series of short-term engagements, or maybe you were out of work for 2 or 3 years taking care of a parent and you don't know how to answer that question or explain that situation. So that's what I specialize in, and it's the only thing that I coach in. I don't really consider myself a coach, but I kind of have a knack for helping people explain those situations. And so reach out to me via email and we'll set up a time. We can have a confidential discussion about your situation and come up with how to answer that question, the very first question, but any follow-up questions that might be generated by your situation. Some interviewers are going to be very curious, especially those in human resources. It's kind of their business to understand why people move, leave, separate. And so we'll come up with a whole story. We'll build a whole story where you can answer the initial question and any follow-up questions that are generated from that. So reach out to me if that's a situation you find yourself in. Thanks.
Mark, thank you very, very much. All right. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone. Before I get started, just a suggestion and a tip for you. When you put your company target name into the chat window, I suggest you put the exact name that you would find, that we would find in LinkedIn, so that I could copy that, put it into LinkedIn, and do a search. A lot of companies have different names, their services, their subsidiaries, whatever. So if you put that in there, that would help us make it a lot easier for us to help you. So just a tip and a suggestion for you. Now on to the interview success workshop. Well, how would you really like to learn how to be successful in an interview? How to differentiate yourself and how to sell who you are, what you do, and how you can help. The 3 things that companies are buying. You certainly want to find out if there's a culture match. You want to find out if there's an experience and a hard skills match. And you also want to find out what they're looking for you to accomplish and achieve, so that you can then sell that to them in a very effective way and also differentiate yourself between other candidates. So I do this through the interview success workshop. You need to be registered to attend. I have a Yahoo email address. Just send me that request and I'll give you some availability dates. I'll do 2 people at a time. It's online on Zoom. You interview each other and I give the questions from the 11 basic categories to the interviewer in the chat window. And then I record the notes. And after the interviews, we have a nice discussion about how we can improve our skills. So you'll get a copy of your video of your interview. You also get a handout and a video that goes along with explaining everything in the handout. It goes over all the things we talk about in the workshop itself. And it's about an hour-long video. So that and a few other files that are handy to have in helping you be successful in your interview. So I'll be glad for you to just send me that email. We don't want to practice the hot seat here. We want to practice the learning seat. Here we are just trying to learn. So you don't need to have any excessive stress or worry or all that kind of thing. We can have some fun while we're learning. So why do we call it the Interview Success Workshop with the phrase learning without squirming? Because that's exactly what it is. Is it interviewing? Do you ramble that makes success a gamble? Learning through practice gives you the handle for interviewing skills to unscramble.
I'm unmuted. There you go. I think it's time for the career tip of the week. Thank you very much, Walt. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. Today we have 10 tips for mastering any job interview by Diane H. Wong. So let's jump right into them. The first one is pinpoint the type of employee the company is searching for. Rather than starting with your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, and the type of job you want, put yourself in the mindset of your target potential employer. What kind of employee would be their perfect fit based on the job description, their company's values, products, and services, and the communication that you've had thus far? You could even be so bold as to ask what problems or issues they've had with previous employees so that you know not to mention any of these items in the interview. Remember, you might want a great job, great salary, and vacation days, but the company is more concerned about what they want rather than what you want. The best way to fill a position is to first figure out what they want by any means you can, and then to sell yourself as being that perfect person or individual. Second, outline your genuine strengths, not just your skills. When people think about strengths, they tend to default to hard skills like, I know how to use Microsoft Excel, or I'm a good writer or public speaker. However, it's also important to emphasize your soft skills to a potential employer. What do you bring to the table besides being good on the phone? And how can you back up that claim with a story or antecedent? The story must be true, but thinking about stories that you can tell ahead of time to back up your abilities, whether they're hard or soft skills, is a great way to prepare for your interview. Past success is a good indicator of future success. Third, fit your answers to their questions. Have you ever noticed no matter what question a politician is asked, they almost always have some kind of answer, and it usually appears off the cuff? That's because most politicians and even pop stars who engage in frequent media interviews will think about the answers to common questions first, and then if they encounter a new question, fit that answer to that question. They might also quickly answer the question and then transition to the rehearsed bit of dialogue. Most people don't remember whether or not you gave a complete answer that fitted their question. They're just interested in learning more about you and how you conduct yourself, which is why politicians frequently get away with this technique. Fourth, anticipate the difficult questions before they ask them. Put yourself in the mind of the company that is considering you as a potential employer. What questions would they have looking at your resume, cover letter, and talking with one of your previous employers? When a question that you've prepared for comes up in the interview, don't just rattle off your answer the second it comes out of the interviewer's mouth. Pause for a few seconds, process what they said, and then answer. This will give the appearance that you gave some thought to the answer and that it was genuine or impromptu. It underscores that you can think on your feet, even if it was rehearsed. Fifth, remember everyone's name or one fact. The best-selling author, speaker, and motivational coach, Dale Carnegie, said it best. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. When someone hears their name come out of your mouth, it makes them feel like you're taking the time to get to know them and that you're aware of their existence. Sixth, be curious about the interviewer and the company. Yes, it's important to ask technical questions about the job, the processes within the company, and the day-to-day work experience. However, what's even more important is to ask questions about the values of the company, what the overarching management goals are, and how the company has changed over time, and why the company has chosen to serve this particular group of customers. Seventh, fit yourself into the company culture. By asking questions and being observant, you can get a quick idea of the company culture. Once you get a strong sense, take action to integrate yourself into that culture. Eighth, don't care about the money. Good talent is always worth good money. Rather than spending your time asking about vacation days, salaries, and benefits, which can always be negotiated down the road, take time in the interview to learn about the company, the hiring manager, and what your role will be. Use the time to sell or convince that manager of how an amazing an employee you will be and how much value you will bring to the company. Ninth, communicate your emotions. Too often, potential hires underscore why they are a good fit for the job from a technical standpoint. They might even use stories or antecedents to underscore their abilities. However, a good company just doesn't want an employee that has the technical ability to do the job required. They also want an employee that will fit in with the culture at the company and who will be a pleasure to work with. You might be rather excited about a job, but your employer will only know that if you smile, act enthusiastic, and show it with the tone of your voice. You might find something that a potential employer tells you to be heartfelt or meaningful, but unless you communicate that with your body language and vocal tone, they won't know you feel that way. And 10th, emphasize what you can already do and how you can grow. Going back to the last point, companies don't want to have to keep hiring new employees for position, and they don't want to experience a rapid turnover rate. The best way that you can set their mind at ease is to show that you view the opportunity as a career step and not simply a job. That's it for this week's career tips. Good luck, everyone, and back to you, Jeff.
Tony, thank you very much. For those who are interested, if you go to careerusa.org or careerdfw.org, you can click on the career tip of the week. It changes every Saturday afternoon. So, and all the old tips are on there too, so you can go back and view any of them that you'd like. All right, in just a couple minutes here, we're going to hear from our speaker talking about accountability groups. Upcoming sessions I want to talk about next week. We'll talk about career transitioning using Clifton Strengths. Clifton Strengths is also known as Strength Finders. So how can you use, when you get those when you find out what your top 5 strengths are, how do you use that in your job search? We'll talk about that next Friday. If you haven't taken the Strength Finders test, I recommend that you do that this week so you have those strengths so you can be ready to talk and share about them next week. And then in 2 weeks, how you can win over the holidays. The holidays are a great time. Hopefully this year you may be starting to meet with some other people and go to a Halloween party, Thanksgiving, Christmas. How can you network and meet with other people? So, how you can still be a winner over the next couple of months. This is still probably the best time of the year to be out networking and looking for a job now through the first of the year. All right, it's time for our main event. We're going to talk about accountability groups. Clayton Stockdall is a Chief Operating Officer with a moving company, DFW Moving, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He also runs the Monday Career Search Network meeting over in Fort Worth. So Clayton, thank you very much for being with us. Sorry, I've got your name misspelled here on the slide. I will fix it as soon as we get done.
All right, that's fine. Are you ready for me to share my screen?
We are ready. Oh yeah, and by the way, for everybody, the slide deck and the handouts will all be sent out with the contact list. So as long as I have your information, as long as you've put your details in the chat window, I will make sure you get this presentation this afternoon.
All right. Can everyone see the slide that says accountability makes things happen?
We can.
All right, great, great. So we're off to a good start. Well, it's a pleasure. Jeff, thank you for the invitation to come and speak. And I hope that you will find that this presentation to be very helpful for you in your job search. This is a job search tool that is not used as much as it should be. And I'm going to share some stats with you a little later on that hopefully will make you really want to give serious consideration of being part of an accountability group. So let's talk about accountability and why it makes things happen. So first off, let's just talk about the definition of accountability. So it's the quality of state of being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility and to account for one's actions. So it's basically being willing to be held up for evaluation and instruction. It's both of those, allowing yourself to be evaluated and being open to instruction. And it's being humble enough to accept guidance and direction. As Americans, we're taught how to work. We're not taught how to look for a job. And so what will happen is that for something will happen, and we're thrown in a position where we have job loss. And so basically we're taken to the deep end of the pool, thrown in and said, okay, swim. And that's one of the things that accountability group can help with, as long as you're humble and willing to accept guidance and direction. It can make you much more successful in your job search. So let's talk about job search without an accountability group. One of the things without accountability group is that it can be too easy to give yourself a free pass. So it depends on your makeup, but if you're one of those happy-go-lucky people, we can go by and you've not done anything with your job search. No big deal. I'll just deal with it next week. And then the next week goes by, and the next week, pretty soon, weeks turn into months, and you really haven't accomplished anything related to your job search. Conversely, if you're one of those that is a perfectionist and everything has to be just so, you can actually be at the other end of the spectrum, and you can be too hard on yourself, and which that in itself can diminish any meaningful action. I say you enter the dungeon of despair is because you get out the cat of nine tails, you start flogging yourself because I didn't do this or that didn't happen or that type of thing, and it actually impacts your ability to actually be successful in job search. And what we have to remember is in job search, it's not a level path, right? Jim Curry, who is now deceased, but he had a great analogy, is that job search is very much like a sine wave, all right? Is that there's ups and there's downs. And those ups are going to be is that during job search, if you're out and about, you're going to come across really great people that you would not have met if you were not in job search. You'll also have those opportunities. You get that interview, things go really well. And man, you think, yeah, I've got that job nailed. And then the downside of the sine wave is you don't hear anything. You hear crickets. Or you get that Dear John or Dear Jane email saying, we decided to go in a different direction. And so that up and down, it can play with your emotions. And that can really weigh on your motivation, your momentum when it comes to job search. And as a result of that, particularly if job search starts going longer than what you were mentally prepared for, is you can lose focus, or things in your life can happen that cause you to lose focus. And you find that your time is being spent on anything but job search. And you can lose momentum. Is that, yeah, at first you're gung-ho and you're working hard, but then pretty soon is that momentum's not there. It's like slogging through molasses and trying to do anything that's related to your job search. And you can become overwhelmed. It's because, once again, oftentimes for many of us, when job search happens, it's like you are thrown into that deep end of the pool. You are overwhelmed. the last time you looked for a job, you replied to an ad in the newspaper, and you go, man, and so you don't know how do I do it now? Or you find that how you've been doing it, it's wrong. And you go, all this time I wasted, I should have been doing this. And all the fear and things that can come with that. And so these are things that can happen without an accountability group as we're trying to work our way through job search. And what I will tell you is that all of us have one obstacle when it comes to job search. It's not our age. It's not our resume. It's not our LinkedIn profile. It is the space between our ears. That is our biggest obstacle when it comes to job search. If we can win the battle above the neck, we will be so much more successful in job search. And that's one of the things that accountability groups really helps with, is winning that battle above the neck. So let's look at the purposes of accountability groups. And one of the purposes of accountability groups is to provide support. And you maybe have support, you may have family members, friends, whatever, but they don't give you the support you need. And by that, most of us, if you're in job search, you feel the pressure because you look at your bank account and you see the money going down and that type of thing. So you're under pressure, and you have well-meaning people in your life. They'll ask you every day, have you found a job yet? Have you had an interview? And that added pressure, you can just feel it. And what can happen is that we become very defensive. Not me. People are just innocently, they're interested. They're concerned about you, and they'll just innocently ask, have you found a job yet? And you'll find yourself snapping back at them because of that. You feel that pressure of that question because you can't answer, yes, I found a job. And so all of that adds pressure to you. And the other thing is that when we have a job, we have someone that we're accountable to. Now, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you attending our meeting today, is that you are good about making sure that you followed through on the commitments for your job, that you delivered. Whatever you were responsible for, you delivered. But you knew you had a boss that you had to answer to. There was somebody either you had a one-on-one with every week, or you submitted a status report or something, but there was somebody that held you accountable for your performance. And when job loss occurs, that accountability goes away, and not just accountability. So it's not just the loss of the paycheck, it's the loss of that accountability. And in fact, nothing is the same. Your routine is not the same. You don't have to get up at the same time unless you have kids. People who you thought were your friends, you find out they're no longer your friends because the only reason why they were your friends is because you worked with them. And so your entire support structure can evaporate. All those people you counted on while you were working, they're no longer there. And so that can become even as big of a deal as a loss of the paycheck. So one of the purposes of an accountability group is to hold you accountable for action. So just as though you had that boss, that held you accountable, that's where an accountability group, they come in and they kind of replace that accountability structures, that you have someone that you're accountable to, that as you make commitments, you have somebody that you have to answer to. You got somebody that you're going to have to tell them whether you followed through on that commitment or not. The other thing is that they provide support. Normally when you're part of an accountability group, there are people that are dealing with the same stuff that you're dealing with. And so they can provide support, help you, deal with stuff. And it's very interesting is that oftentimes when there's a group of accountability group is that there may be a group member that's down. They've had a hard week. And everybody else is feeling pretty good, and they can kind of pull that person out of the gutter. Then conversely, the next week, it may be you that's in the gutter, and they can pull you out. So it's a great support structure to help you during those difficult times in job search, because you will have them. There will be difficult days in job search. Unless you happen to land a job really quick, I guarantee you, if you've not had one, you will. And this really helps overcome that. And they help you to provide insight. You know, we're very good as human beings in giving people advice when we're not dealing with what they're dealing with. And so oftentimes we can give advice to somebody who's in job search. Maybe when we have a job, we can say, well, have you tried this or done this, all this stuff. And then when we're in job search, that advice doesn't work for us. We're in a situation where we can't see the forest for the trees. And so it's helpful to have people who can look at our situation objectively and can provide us guidance and direction, because that's one of the things that happens is when we're involved in something, our emotions become involved. And our emotions create a fog that makes it difficult for us to see clearly. And so people outside they're not looking through that fog of emotions can see things that we can't see. And so that can be extremely helpful in guiding you through the job search maze. Also, one of the purposes of accountability group is to practice tough love. If you're not doing what you should be doing, they can give you a swift kick in the seat of the pants and say, hey, you're not using your time wisely, or hey, applying for 40 jobs online and not doing anything else, that's a waste of your time. I'm not saying you shouldn't apply for jobs online, but you definitely should be doing more than that. You need to be out networking, because we know from statistics, far more people land a job through networking than applying for jobs online. And one of the things that it does is that it instigates and it sustains meaningful action. And part of that is, once it gets back to the accountability, because usually accountability groups, you meet once a week, and we'll talk more about that. We'll get into the actual agendas and have the functioning of an accountability group. But okay, I've got an upcoming meeting and I'm going to have to answer for the commitments I made. And just that in itself will kind of generate action on your behalf, where otherwise you might not do anything. And the deal is that if we're hanging around, we're interacting with people that we respect, the last thing we want to do is let them down, because we don't want to lose their respect for us. And so that in itself, and it's not a fear factor, but it's just that desire as human beings to be respected and to be around people that we respect, that in itself can cause you to do things that if you did not have in place, you would just blow the day off. Man, I just not feel liking it today. But because you have that accountability, got to be, okay, I do need, because I want to have a good answer when we have that next meeting. So these can be things that are great purposes of an accountability group. Now, why participate? One is that it keeps you focused on your goals. Your goal is going to be landing a job. They're going to help keep you focused on that. Because when you're in job search, you have other things plying for your time. For most people, when they're in job search, that's not the only thing they're dealing with. It could be dealing with an aging parent, a sick relative, maybe family issues, whatever. Rarely does job search come along and that's the only issue you're dealing with. And so being part of why you want to participate in accountability is it helps you keep you focused on your goal of landing a job while you're also dealing with just life. Because I guarantee you, when you're in job search, life happens. And it helps keep you a list of the actions that you say you're going to achieve and the due date of when you're saying that you're going to accomplish those actions. And it's going to remind you of when those actions are not complete or not achieved, but it's at a more objective level. So one, if you're one of those happy-go-lucky people, it's going to kind of rein that in so that you do get stuff done. And conversely, if you're one of those people that you have that tendency to flog yourself when things just don't go your way, they help kind of moderate that and bring it back to a more objective level. And they'll challenge you or they should challenge you when your actions that you're taking are not leading toward the goal you desire, which is landing a job. They should be that's a part of that, is to make sure that you're focusing your time and your energy are being placed in the appropriate actions, things that are going to help you land the job. And then they provide a support and a great sounding board. And that's the deal, is that it's going to help you keep moving you forward, even on those days that you don't feel like it, right? That's one of the reasons why you want to participate in an accountability group. So let's look at some of the benefits. So one of the benefits of being part of accountability group is that it increases your self-awareness. And so by being around other people, is that you're going to become more self-aware. You're going to become more aware of what really matters to you in life as well as in job search. And because of that, you're going to be able to make more and better informed choices. And as a result, the results will be better. And this is where one is that I hope you really capture this, is that being part of a good accountability group based upon studies of the American Society of Training and Development is that it increases your probability of success up to 95%. It almost doubles your chance of landing a job. So if you want to land a job and you want to land it as quickly as you can, you need to be part of accountability group. It's just that structure, that accountability, that just helps keep you focused and motivated. It has that big of a difference in people, is that it improves your chance of success of landing that job. So I really strongly encourage you to be part of accountability. In fact, when I was in job search several years back, I was in 3 different accountability groups. I was kind of like the remedial student of accountability group, because everybody when the first group landed, and so I formed another one, and people landed, and finally, hey, I landed. But they're great. It's a great tool to be part of to improve your chance of success. And once again, it has a neutralizing effect when you're incomplete on something. It helps you stay more objective. It kind of helps take some of that emotion out of it, so that you're still getting stuff accomplished. You still know when when you've gotten the seat of your pants kicked because you didn't do something, but it's coming in the appropriate manner. And another critical point is that it's going to increase your compassion, because you're around other people who are experiencing the exact same thing you are. They're going through job search, you're going through job search. And what you're going to find out, one is, you know what? People have the same emotions I have. And so you realize that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm not the only one that feels like the world is out against me, or whatever the deal is. The feeling you have is that by being around others, your compassion for others is going to be increased, as well as compassion for yourself will be increased. And this is critical, particularly if you're a leader, because a study was done, and I believe it was done by Harvard. And what they wanted to do was to understand the difference between great leaders and good leaders, not great leaders and bad leaders, but great leaders and good leaders. And so they did a study, and it came down to what most people would never expect. It turned out there were only 3 attributes that distinguish great leaders from good leaders. And those 3 attributes were compassion, humility, and gratitude. Those were the only things that separated great leaders from good leaders, is that great leaders exhibited more compassion, more humility, and more gratitude than those that were considered good leaders. So compassion is a great thing to develop and to increase in your life. It will help you in job search, and it will help you as a leader. Any questions before we move on to creating an accountability group?
There is nothing in the chat box so far.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to how do we go about, okay, we've talked about the benefits and all this stuff. So how do I go about creating one? And obviously, if there's something, and there's probably already accountability groups there at the North Dallas and Plano group that you might be able to join. But if you need to create one, we're going to talk about how you go about doing that. So first off is identify 3 to 5 people in your network to be part of your accountability group. Your accountability group can be smaller than that, or can be larger, but really 3 to 5 seems to be a good number. It's better to have more than 2, because if one of you lands and you're back to where you are now, you're by yourself. So at least 3 is recommended. Now, I don't recommend having family members as part of your accountability group. It needs to be somebody other than relatives. And it doesn't hurt to have maybe a former Marine that can help keep you on track in your meetings, okay? But what you want to do is you want to involve people in your accountability group. You want to invite them that are as committed to job search as you are. You don't want to invite people who they look to do anything other than something that's related to job search. You want people that are committed. Also, you want to invite people who you respect, and they respect you. You want there to be a good atmosphere of respect. Now, it can be, particularly, let's say if you're in sales, it could be all the people that are part of your accountability group are in sales. It doesn't have to be. It can be where you have people from different disciplines, different industries. The first accountability group I was in, we were all over the place. We had a person that was a recruiter. We had a person that was in IT. We had a person that was a project manager. I had a person that was in operations. So, we were all over the place. It doesn't really have to be based upon a particular discipline or a particular industry, but it's about finding those people that, once again, that are going to be as committed to it as you are.
Clayton, a question got put in, and I think it's perfect timing, is should all the members of the group be currently unemployed looking for a job, or is it okay to have somebody who is employed?
Yeah, I think it's okay. Usually, though, in my experience, it's usually been everyone's been employed. But I think definitely it doesn't hurt as long as that person can bring things and be a good support person. That could be a great thing. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't not invite somebody that is employed, but once again, you want to make sure that the feedback that they provide is going to be constructive and not like, hey, I've got a job and you don't, and that type of thing. So it's just making sure that person, if they have more of I would say a servant leader, or more of a servant mentality, more of a compassionate makeup, then I would say that would definitely be a good person to have, because they can be there to help shore up people when people are having a difficult time.
Thank you.
Now, as far as co-ed groups, I've been member of a co-ed group. I would just say there is that for co-ed groups, you just need to have some real strong guidelines in place, because what will happen, you'll find, if your accountability group exists for any length of time, you're going to get pretty tight pretty fast. Okay. Maybe for the first meeting or two, everyone's going to have their mask up. But after the first meeting or two, the masks come down and you see people for what they are. And what can happen is that a person can have compassion for someone, but if not watched, that compassion can turn into infatuation, which can turn into something that is not appropriate. So there just needs to be good guidelines in place, good ground rules in place for that. Would be my recommendation there. But co-ed groups can be a great thing. But once again, there just needs to be good ground rules in place to make sure that nothing inappropriate ends up taking place. That wasn't expected to happen, but happens because we're humans. Now, as far as talking about ground rules, so you do want to have ground rules about how the group is going to work. This should be, how often is your group going to meet? Is it going to be on a weekly basis? Hey, we're going to meet every Friday after our North Dallas Plano group, whatever. So, and then how long is the meeting going to last? Which usually it's roughly an hour. Sometimes your first meeting will be longer than that because everybody's just trying to get to know each other. But usually it's about an hour. What is each person supposed to bring to the meeting? A goal sheet, a bind, which we'll talk a little bit about that. And then guidance on how feedback should be given. Is it going to be given from from more of a not from a critical, from being a real critic, but more of a critique perspective? Is it going to be dealt with from a more respectful approach, more objective, more helpful? So how are we going to give feedback to each other? Those are things that are important to discuss. And then what you want to do is you want to provide everyone with a weekly goal sheet template, because one of the real critical things that helps make an accountability group work is that you're going to be making commitments every week or every meeting on what you're going to do between now and the next meeting. And so you want to have a goal sheet to keep track of that. And you just don't keep track of it for yourself. Everyone in your accountability group keeps track of everybody else. Because otherwise, what's the point of accountability if a group is trusting each person to keep track of it? Okay, so you keep track of it. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you what one looks like, and I have provided the Excel template for this to Jeff so he can share with you. So obviously for the first meeting, it's not going to look exactly like this, but what would happen once you get past your first meeting is that on the left side of the page, you track the results, the commitments you made from the prior meeting, and did you follow through, and what were the results? And then on the right side, you track the commitments that you're making at that meeting that you're going to report on the next meeting. So those are going to be the goals that you're going to try to accomplish between now and the next meeting. And so every week, everyone is filling these goal sheets out on each other, so that the next week you can say, well, so-and-so, how did you do on goal number 1? How did you do on goal number 2? And you go through that. And did you do it? Did you not? If you did, what was the result? Or if you did do it, what was the result? And so this is something that you fill out every week, both the left side and the right side. Now, then what you want to do is, in creating an accountability group, you want to allow for critical discussion and pushback. Because the reason why you're in accountability group is that you're there, you're participating because you want people to push you to get you to where you want to be, which is employed. So you want people to push you, to help you land that job, to get things done that's going to get you there, and making sure that you're doing the right things. So if your goals are too easy, you're about trying to be too easy on yourself, there should be people there telling you that. If you're not doing things, you're not getting stuff done on time, you're not following through, there should be people there that are confronting you about that. Obviously in the right manner, but you should be confronted about that. That's the whole whole purpose of being part of accountability group. And then every week, each person should restate their specific job search objective. This is not your elevator pitch, because what happens, many of us, we've done many things in our career. And so one week, hey, I'm looking for this job. And the next week, hey, I'm looking for this. So every week, you want each person to restate, hey, this is what I'm looking for. That way, if you've changed your mind, your group knows. Because what will happen is that your accountability group members, they're not only going to be looking for a job for themselves, but they're also going to be looking for a job for you. And the last thing you want is for your accountability group be looking for a job that you're no longer interested in. So make sure that every week, everyone knows what everyone's current job objective is. And then keep your group consistent, your group membership consistent. The only time you really should be adding people to your group is when maybe one of your members lands, or maybe you have somebody that's needing to drop out, or you're having to kick out because they're just not participating. I've had a member, a part of a group once that had it happen, and it wasn't that the person wasn't worthy of the group or whatever. It's just that both of his parents passed away, and he was having to deal with all this estate stuff, and he just couldn't focus on it. And it was a deal. It said, we told him, hey, we get it, and we'll welcome you back when you're able to focus on job search. But he knew that at this point, his time was going to be totally taken up with estate stuff, and those are things happen. And so it's usually those are the only times that it's recommended that you add members, is when somebody lands or somebody really can no longer participate, because you want that level of trust to develop so the mask can come off. You can let know people how you feel. You can ask genuine questions and get genuine answers, and you can really help one another. Pick a leader who will be there every time. So if you're the one creating the group, you may end up being the leader, but pick someone, maybe someone who has leadership experience to be a leader of the group, that's going to be there every time, that can keep things going, make sure that the meetings are happening and all that type of thing. And then have an assistant leader too. So if that leader does land, there's somebody there that's ready to step in or can lead a meeting when the leader may be on an interview or that type of thing. And then maintain a binder for everyone. So now, obviously, a lot of times, many of us have iPads or tablets these days, so it can all be held electronically. I think, though, there's some advantages to having a hardbound binder. And what should be in this binder? You should have business cards for each person that's a part of your accountability team. You should have a copy of their resume. And another thing, you're going to have all their goal sheets in there. And another thing that I recommend is that you have a personal bio, and I'm going to share one with you here may have to move a little. There we go. So, and I may have to share a new window with you. Okay. So this is what a personal bio looks like, or somewhat like this. And a personal bio is just that, it's personal. So a personal bio is something that you use in place of your resume. So a personal bio is what I use when I go on an informational interview, or I'm in a discussion with someone where maybe my resume is just not the appropriate thing to do. Because if I bring out my resume, what does that say? That says I'm looking for a job. I'm hoping you can help me. And there's times when we're meeting with people, but that's not what we're there for. We're there to learn, we're there for information or whatever. And so a personal bio, it helps do that. And what it does, it's more about you as a person, what makes you tick. And so I've had great success with this document in helping to quickly build trust with someone. They'll go, hey, you know what, Clayton's a lot like me. What he values is what I value. And so it can establish a level of trust to where they feel comfortable in, maybe sharing their network with me or that type of thing. And so I have shared these files with Jeff and told him that he has my permission to send these out, so that I've given him the working file so you can take my information out and put yours in. But I recommend you and anyone that are part of your accountability group having a personal bio, because I've had great success with it. I've had a lot of compliments from it. In fact, I've had a number of people I met with that said, hey, I'm going to create this because I really like this. So I encourage you to have something like this. All right, now let's talk about your first meeting. What does your first meeting look like? So you've identified people to be part of your group. What do we do? Well, the first thing, obviously, is find a place to meet. And whether that's a restaurant, a coffee shop, a church, whatever, just find a library. Sometimes libraries will have meeting places that you can meet at no charge. Obviously, you want to try to find a place that that doesn't cost you anything, if possible, because when you're in job search, every dollar counts, and you don't want to have to spend a dollar if you don't have to. So if you can find a place where you can meet free of charge, that's the best thing. But when you're there, the first thing you do is just introduce yourself. So each person introduces themselves and mentions what's bringing them to the group. What do they expect to get out of it? And also, what do they expect to give to the group? Then discuss the foundation. So these are the ground rules for the group. And this is important, that up front you establish as many of the rules as possible. Now, you're not going to be able to cover them all because there's going to be things that'll happen that you didn't anticipate, didn't think about, that you will have to make on the fly. But good things to discuss are confidentiality. Is your mantra, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? That what we discuss in this group stays in this group. What about missed meetings? How many meetings can a person miss before they're no longer part of the group? Being late. How are people, how's that going to be handled if people are late? If you're doing meetings virtually, is multitasking going to be allowed? Are people going to be allowed to be watching Hello Kitty movies while they're participating in the accountability group meeting? So all these ground rules, these are things that you want to, what kind of situations will you potentially face? And you want to kind of lay those out and make sure that everybody that's part of the group is on board, that they support those ground rules, right? Then you want to explain the agenda for your successive meetings. What are your subsequent meetings going to look like? Once that's over, then you get into the commitments phase. So now is that each member of your accountability group makes commitments on what they're going to do between now and your next meeting related to their job search. I recommend 3 to 5 commitments. You can overdo it. I've seen people try to give off 20 commitments. Don't set yourself up for failure. 3 to 5 is good, but it shouldn't be, hey, I'm going to apply for 3 jobs online. No, that's one commitment, okay? 3 to 5. And they should be worthwhile commitments. And 2, if you're making commitments that people in your accountability group don't really see as really viable, they should be letting you know that, hey, no, you need to come up with something better than that. But you make commitments. And once again, this is where everybody's writing them down on the goal sheet. And then the final thing in the meeting is you end the meeting with gratitude. Each person should share something that they're grateful for, right? And this is critical. All right, you go, why is that even part of it? Well, I'm going to show you on our next slide. I'm going to show you the importance of gratitude, right? So Amit Amin, he was, I don't know if he still is, but he was a self-avowed atheist. And he thought that gratitude was some Christian hocus pocus, but for some reason, he ended up having to do research on the subject of gratitude. And he was totally blown away by the research that he did, the results of the research. And he ended up writing a book, The 31 Benefits of Gratitude That You Didn't Know About. And what he learned was that in gratitude is that it impacts 5 areas of life. It impacts your emotional life, your social life, your career, your health, and your personality. And it has positive impacts on your life in all the way around. And so this is definitely, there's enough difficult things in job search, is that you need to remind yourself there are things to be grateful for, but because the way we're wired, the emotional beings that we are, is that it's very easy for us to focus on what we don't have when there is so much in our life that we can be thankful for. And so this is one of the reasons why it's very important for accountability groups to end on, when it ends your meeting on a good note, you're walking away having a sense of gratitude, a sense of appreciation, being thankful. So you're walking away in a good state of mind, being something that you're thankful for. Okay. Any questions before we jump into what the meeting agenda looks like for subsequent meetings?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, so then what does meeting 2 through X look like? Well, what is recommended based upon research is start your meeting with what's new and good. So this has nothing to do with job search. So this is just where each member of your accountability group just goes around, round robin, and each person just shares something that's new and good. What's happened in the last week? And once again, this is not related to job search. It could be, hey, my son's team won a football game, or my son started in football this past Friday, or whatever, or my daughter got engaged, or whatever the case might be. My wife or spouse got a promotion, or whatever. It's just what's new and good. What's happened that's new and good. So you get your meeting off on a good note. That should be followed up then by each person checking in. And so this is going to kind of set the stage for the rest of the meeting as far as the commitments you made on the prior week. So this is going to let people know kind of how your week went. You don't go into your commitments yet, but just kind of let you know. Like one time when I was in job search, I had lightning strike my house. There's nothing like the smell of fried electronics at 2 a.m. in the morning, okay? But do you think that derailed my job search for that week? Yeah. So if it check in, I say, man, I had lightning strike my house, then they're probably going to be a little light on me. They're probably not going to come down hard on me if I didn't, accomplish my goals for that week because of what happened. So you're checking in, let people know how your week went. Once that is done, then you go through and you give your commitments, and you give a status report. Okay, here's the commitments I made at the last meeting, and here are the results. Yeah, I accomplished this, and this is a result. And this is a great time. Is like, for instance, maybe you had an interview, and one of the things that was mentioned at the beginning of this meeting is difficult interviews, or getting blindsided. And I had that happen to me once. It's like everything was going great, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened? I basically thought they were getting ready to say, when do you start? And I walked out of there, my head was swimming. What happened? So it can be also, as you're doing this, is if things didn't go as planned with your commitments, hey, I've got a question, I need feedback, or can someone give me some insight or advice as how to handle the next time that I may face this, that type of thing. And then people give you feedback. So each person should give you direct, honest feedback. Maybe answer your questions, or once again, if you're not following through, confront you to make sure that you're doing the right things, but they're giving you the feedback. And then once the feedback round robin is done, is then each person makes commitments on what they're going to do between now and the next meeting. So what are you going to do now? And you go through and you follow up. And it may be that you're going to be following up on some of the tasks from your prior list, but you're going to follow through. And once again, everyone is writing these down. So everyone is keeping track of each other so that you can keep each person honest on the commitments that they've made. And then once again, as with the first meeting, is that you end the meeting with gratitude. Once again, it's going to help you end the meeting on a good note and get you started off on good footing as you're walking out the door in, once again, accomplishing those things that you committed to related to your job search. And so kind of segueing on that, maybe it's not related to accountability, but I think it is. Because so much of accountability is helping make sure you stay in that right frame of mind when you're in job search. But something I think, if you're not practicing it, that I recommend you do is every day, the first thing you do when you wake up, usually many of us, we have a master bath or we got a bathroom down the hall, is go into the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror and smile. Even if your hair's doing this, okay? Mine's going to do this because I have less of it, okay? look at yourself in the mirror and smile. What you're gonna see is you will experience an immediate uptick in your mood. Okay. Now, me, I'm one of those people that when my feet hit the floor, I'm awake. There's other people in my family, it's 10 o'clock before they feel fully awake. Okay. But I discovered this in my mid-20s. I don't know why. I don't even remember why. I just remember one morning before going, I went in and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I smiled, and I immediately felt an uplift in my mood. And so I encourage you to do this: is go in, smile at yourself, even if you think it's silly, smile at yourself. And then while you're smiling at yourself, vocalize, just don't think it, vocalize one thing that you're thankful for. And this is going to get your day off to a good start. Okay. It's going to help get your day off in a good frame of mind, because there's nothing that will derail your day like getting up and you think like the world has come to an end, or the thought comes across your mind, I'm never going to land a job. Okay. Nothing will crater your momentum and your focus like stuff like that. So try to do your best to get your day off to a good start. And one of the best ways to do that, believe it or not, is to smile at yourself and verbalize something that you're thankful for. As we wrap up, a few things here. On this slide, there's a few resources that I looked at in putting this presentation together. But also a couple of scriptures. Once again, I lead a Christian, as Jeff mentioned, I lead a Christian-based networking group for job seekers, Fort Worth Christian Church Network, which, by the way, we do have a company page on LinkedIn. You'll find us at Fort Worth CSN, and we do post our meeting notices there every Wednesday, usually every Wednesday evening. But there's a couple of scriptures I'd like to make you aware of. And Proverbs 18:1 says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. So even scripture says it's not good to do job search alone. Okay. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And then looking at Ecclesiastes, is that two are better than one because they give good, and something happened to my slide here. Let me get it back. There we go. I apologize for that. I was trying to move the video out of the way here. Two are better than one because they give a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So I encourage you is don't do job search alone. If you're making your job search journey much harder than it needs to be. So bring people alongside you. God created us to be social creatures, so don't do job search alone. Bring people alongside you who can be there to help you, and conversely, you can help them, and together you will land a job. So with that, that concludes my presentation today. Happy to entertain any questions that anyone has.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please unmute your mic and let us know, or even if you're in an accountability group, unmute your mic and tell us about how your group operates and how often you meet. Anyone?
May I please make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Hi, guys. Good morning, everybody. So Clayton, I mean, basically you've showed people how to run a meeting and like project manage it. And then the project is this accountability group. The thing that I got from this that I haven't thing is doing the gratitude at the end. Normally it's a recap, closure, who's doing what to who type of thing, and then take it from there. So that's a new one for me, just like asking people, is there anything I can do for you in this process, which I think is a big plus. So
right. Yeah, and the deal, yeah, and what I would say too is, when we're in job search, like I said earlier, it's very easy for us to focus on what we need, which is a job. But what I can tell you is, and I can tell you from experience, okay, because I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, okay, is when you're in job search, focus more on giving than taking. And by that is focus on how you can help other people. Don't focus on what you need, right? Focus on what you can give. And it's what Zig Ziglar said is that one of his, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but he says, to get what you want, help other people get what they want, because reciprocity is tremendous. If you help somebody achieve something that they want, there is an innate desire to help you. And so by helping other people, they in turn want to help you. Okay. The job I have right now as Chief Operations Officer, I landed this job as a combination of volunteering and networking. That's how I landed it. I was one of 2 people that was interviewed for this job. It was not on the job boards anywhere. So basically from the get-go, I had a 50-50 shot of landing the job because there was me and only one other candidate was even considered. But I found it through volunteering and networking. Part of that was just because I given, and because of that is I had this opportunity that came my way. So I encourage you not to let fear drive your job search. Focus come from a attitude of abundance rather than an attitude of scarcity. Okay. And I think you'll find that one, your job search will be much more pleasant. And I think you'll find your job search is much more pleasant and it will be faster. If you focus on job search coming from a mindset of abundance versus scarcity.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Tony?
Yeah, this is Tony. Clayton, I appreciate the presentation. One question, can you talk a little bit more about starting a group from scratch? I've tried to do that in the past and found it was a real struggle getting guys to commit and follow through. Any advice about finding a good group and getting it sort of off the ground and running?
Well, I think one, I said, you definitely got to find people that are as committed to job search as you are. And not everybody is, okay? You're wanting to find somebody who's willing to commit to it full time, to treat it like a job, to treat job search like a job. And there's a lot of job seekers out there that aren't willing to make that commitment, okay? So it's finding people like that. Another obstacle that a lot of people don't think about is, they try to invite anybody without recognizing, okay, how far does that person live away? So that is one of the obstacles I think you have to overcome is okay, like where's your meeting going to take place? And realistically, the people need to live reasonably close to the place of where that meeting takes place. Or if it's a place where everybody's already come together, so like let's say that, they're at North Dallas and Plano. If people are already coming there, you could, get people out of that group and like maybe you're already meeting there or you meet somewhere nearby. So people are already there. So they're not having to drive a long distance to get somewhere, because you may have somebody that they may be willing to commit and they may attend the first 1 or 2 meetings, but then pretty soon that drive is going to get old and they will start attending less and less and less and less. So I recommend finding either people that live close to you, or like if people are, if you're like meeting at a restaurant, someplace where people aren't already coming together, but like if you're attending, for instance, South Lake Focus Group, because it's one of the larger group, or Frisco, where people are already coming together, then those are usually great places to be because everybody's already coming together and that commute's already taken out of the equation. But I would say those are the 2 keys: is making sure that people are as committed to the job search as you are. They're willing to treat it like a job. And then 2 is that the commute is not going to pose a problem. I would say if you can do that, then you should have decent success in finding a group that's just not going to die out after the first or second meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Clayton. One more quick question, if I may. The importance of being in person versus a Zoom get together or a hybrid.
Well, you know, I think Zoom or, virtual can work, but there's just something about being in person. Okay. My preference is to do it in person if you can. And obviously everybody with all this COVID pandemic and everything, everybody's all over the board as whether they're comfortable or not. And definitely you don't want to infringe on somebody's comfort level. If they're really not comfortable in meeting in public, that's okay. But my preference, having been part of accountability group and seeing the benefit, I think there's a lot more you gain by doing it in person than virtual. And the deal is when we're doing it virtual, there is always that temptation to check out, because you do have your phone over here that may be vibrating or whatever. It's so easy to lose focus and not really be paying attention. So I say it can work, that it doesn't mean if you can't do it in person, don't do it at all. But I think there are definitely some very strong benefits for doing it in person if you can.
And even if, I guess, if you wanted to meet at a park, you could meet outside, everybody bring a lawn chair and you all sit outside and, socially distance, whatever, or
Right.
There are a number of parks that have overhangs and stuff that you can meet at. Would be good.
Yeah.
Walt, did you have a comment?
Well, I wanted to apologize to everyone because I will no longer put data in the chat window that I plan on entering near the end, not at the beginning. And so what I was offering to you was an example of one accountability group that I was a part of that said, here are our principles of operation. And so I'll just give you one example of something as to how we decided to operate. One of the hardest things to do, and we ended up having to time ourselves for 10-minute windows that you had to do your stuff within 10 minutes and stay to that particular agenda. We often would get off into trails and we start talking about a specific thing, then we start describing and talking about it instead of just going through the specific agenda. Another tip that I would like to give to you is allow time outside of your agenda for socializing. You may do some at the beginning, you may do some at the end, whatever it might be. But if you start using your hour or whatever time you have allotted set for the team or for the group, we would end up doing a lot of socializing and we start 20 minutes late. And then you want to respect everybody's time. So either allow some beforehand to get together, say that we'll start at 15 till, and then the actual meeting starts at the hour or something like that, because we'll often get into other things as well. So anyway, there's some examples. If you would like to have some help starting an accountability group, I would be willing to help participate in meeting one to go through the stuff. Clayton's agenda is right on spot. Clayton, I tell you what, I really like the idea of waking up and smiling in the mirror in the morning and saying something positive. I thought that's one of the greatest things that I got out of today. Instead of getting up and saying, oh no, another day and I still don't have a job. And when we smile, it actually has a physical effect on our bodies and we feel positive. So doing that. The other thing in the meeting that we did that was very important was staying positive. And we got a little device that made a noise that if you mentioned something negative, that device was rung or hit or sounded or clicked or whatever, you could not be negative in a meeting. And so we held everybody accountable to staying positive throughout the meeting. Just a couple of tips and suggestions.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from anybody? Well, Clayton, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the fact, especially talking about doing it virtual versus in person. I think all the groups are sort of dying to get back and meeting in person because,
Right.
I mean, we really miss that, physical, being able to see somebody, being able to talk to somebody. And, and as Walt said, even that socializing before the meeting starts, after the meeting's over, those other things. So I know that we're all looking forward to, hopefully a good 2022 when we can all see each other and be together and
Right.
and do this together. I know you've started your group back up and
Right.
you're people are slowly coming back a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time today. Great
Sure.
information. Like I said, I will put out all the handouts that Clayton gave us. I will put out to everybody in an email this afternoon. So thank you very much. Coming up, I want to talk about next week. We'll be talking about Clifton Strength Finders, how to use career transitioning using Clifton Strengths. Many of you have heard Randy Shade before. If you haven't taken the Strength Finder test, Clifton Strengths test, I recommend you do it. It's a great way to explain to people what you do, how you do things. So, like I said, Randy will be with us next Friday. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat window, please do so. Name, phone, email address, position you're looking for, and a couple target companies. By doing that, as long as I have everybody's list, I will make sure I get these handouts to you in the next couple hours. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Next Tuesday, Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies to get results. That's LinkedIn Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Next Wednesdays, we've mentioned before, for interviewing Wednesdays, we'll be on session number 11, talking about informational interviews. Next Thursday is the second Thursday of the month, so we'll be talking about networking. Mark McDonald will be with us to talk about networking with a purpose. This session has been recorded. You'll be able to go back and watch it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Please click on playlist, and then down where you see that red arrow, when you find the list you want, click on view full playlist. Don't click on the video, but if you click on view full playlist, up will come a list of all the different titles and topics that we've talked about, and then you can go back and you can watch any one of those. The newest one should be on the very, very top. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Clayton, thanks again.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
guys. Have a good week.
All right.